be wrapped up at the Red Bull Ring. But it wasn't, because the drama continues as we head here to the final three races in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship for this season, with the championship still awaiting to be won. Callum Ilott will be going from pole position for this race one. Alongside him will be Lando Norris, who is hot shoe favourite to take the Drivers' Championship, but he didn't do it at the Red Bull Ring. And we've worked out and been through all the computations and all the connotations. Alongside me, former Formula 3 driver Alex Torrell. What has Lando Norris got to do in this race to win the championship?
Yeah, I mean, we were watching the points a little bit. So actually, the only possibility for Lando to lose the championship is if Maxi Günther win this race.
Right.
If Maxi doesn't win this race, doesn't matter which result Lando does, he will be champion.
Callum Ilott, the British driver, goes from P1 on the grid. A 1:31.646 qualifying time from Callum Ilott gives him pole position on the grid. Going from P2, though, with the inside line because of the staggered grid at Hockenheim, it is the Carlin Motorsport driver, Lando Norris. He has been an incredible superstar in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and comes here with not so much to do to secure the championship. Maximilian Günther, though, his qualifying, a 1:32.075, puts him P12 on the grid. It's a big ask, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, you have this racetrack in Hockenheim. It's a really good racetrack to overtake maneuver, but coming from P12 to P1 will be a hard situation for Maxi Günther. When we see now on the screen Joel Eriksson starting from P3.
And Joel Eriksson is into a rich vein of form, taking a P2 and, of course, two wins at the Red Bull Ring. As we look at Gian Daruvala then, the Carlin Motorsport driver, who still has an outside chance of taking the Rookie Championship. But it is very, very outside because, of course, Lando Norris, not only the potential Drivers' Champion, but potential Rookie Champion as well. But if Lando Norris had, I think it was a DNF in all three races, Gian Daruvala could take the Rookie Championship. I think it's pretty unlikely, to be honest. We look at the Mick Schumacher car there. Mick Schumacher going from P13 on the grid.
Yeah, also the son of the well-known racing driver struggling a little bit to find the pace throughout all the season. Let's see how he does it here now.
It was always going to be a learning year, though, for him.
Yeah, for sure. You always need to learn. It's really tough. Formula 3, it's one of the hardest single-seater series you have all around the world, I would say. Really packed grid, a lot of experienced drivers, and this make it really hard, especially in the first year, to come and win. What we have on the other side is Lando Norris coming as a rookie and then probably taking the championship. So.
Yeah, of course he came here though as a double Formula Renault champion, didn't he? Tadasuke Makino that we look at now going from P6 on the grid. Ahead of him, of course, P5 is Ferdinand Habsburg, the Van Amersfoort racing driver. There is Pedro Piquet going from P7 on the grid. So Pedro Piquet then for Van Amersfoort Racing. Super guy to talk to. Had a long chat with him at the Nürburgring earlier in the season, Pedro Piquet. And then the high-tech GP car of Jake Hughes. And Jake Hughes then going from P8 on the grid. Jake, of course, it was at Nürburgring, the middle race at Nürburgring, if memory serves me, that he took his first race win in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. And as is a racing driver saying, he got that monkey lifted off his back.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like we were talking, just win on the FIA Formula 3, it's already a good achievement in your career. That tells you how packed is the grid at the moment. We see now Nikita Mazepin, high-tech Grand Prix driver. He's been also doing some races really good, quite unlike in others. We go now to Guan Yu Su, Chinese driver for Prema Power Team, Ferrari Academy driver. He's also been doing quite great through the whole season. He has some great results.
It's been a really turbulent season for Guan Yu Su. you know, you're right. He's had some good results, but equally there have been times where he's really not shown us the talent that we know he has. You know, I can remember the two DNFs at Po, for example. Do you know what I mean? And that costs you dear, doesn't it? This championship is so competitive, Alex, and you know from having competed in it that every single point is utterly critical and crucial. And DNFs really hurt, don't they?
Yeah, I mean it's 10 weekends, 30 races. So it's a lot of racing and a lot of situations where you need to deal with. So you need to win, but you also need to be consistency. We're talking about consistency. We talk about Maximilian Gunter's really good start of the season.
Yes.
Second half of the season, struggling to find the speed. Remember, Norris Ring is when the problem started, more or less. If you remember well.
Yeah, and he's really struggled, hasn't he, to rekindle that form that he had and the talent that we know that he has. And again, it's the P6s and 7s and the DNF at Spa and things like that have conspired against him by not banking those points and taking the wins that we know he's capable of. I mean, it's been far from a win-less season. I think he's taken 4 outright wins, but in this ultra-competitive championship, when you've got a talent like Lando Norris, you need to do everything, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. This is the main point. The problem is this Formula 3 is so technical, it's so difficult, it's so much at a high level that every detail is important, everything counts.
From Formula 4, we welcome Felipe Drugovich, who is on the grid going from P14. He's not the only driver from Formula 4 here, because also here is Juri Vips, the Estonian racer that's going from P21 on the grid as well. It's this single-seater pyramid, isn't it? You do karting, Alex, then you do regional Formula 4, and then, of course, all sights, all eyes are set on a potential entry into the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. And so we see and welcome Felipe Drugovich and Juri Vips, of course, Mick Schumacher and Joey Mawson, both coming the same way, or came from the same direction, if you like, at the beginning of the season. So Callum Ilott and Lando Norris on the front row of the grid. Then in qualifying they were split by a mere couple of tenths, or actually it was 1.5 tenths, to be honest with you. That's how close it is in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. And the championship does come all the way to Hockenheim. There were many of us that thought it was going to be sealed and done and dusted at the Red Bull Ring, but the drama continued to unfold. What can Maximilian Gunter, the car that we look at right now, do from P12 on the grid? Well, he has got to go forward at a rapid rate of knots. There's Lando Norris then, and there is Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher going from P13 on the grid. He's alongside Maximilian Gunter. And Callum Ilott then, who is another driver that has shown his speed and his prowess during the course of the season. Perhaps it's the consistency that really just hasn't been there, but he has qualified the car P1. He is going from pole position. So the scene is set, the grid is cleared, and the cars will be away on their formation lap any moment now as the engine note rises then and the tension and adrenaline begins to pump ahead of this 33-minute race for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, the first of 3 across this very busy weekend here at Hockenheim. So the car's released now then, and we track the Lando Norris and Callum Ilott car from the front row of the grid then as they head in towards turn number 1. During the course of the race, expect many cars to run wide at turn number 1, which is excused and allowed by race control. There's a huge tarmac runoff area there, and expect quite a number of the cars to be using that and trying to get a slingshot going into turn number 2.
Yeah, but same as it's allowed on the start of the race, it's not allowed from then on to keep pushing on those track limits, so-called track limits. That means there's a white line, you have the 2 white lines between the black tarmac, and you need to have at least 2 wheels over it, yes, in the inside of the racetrack.
There's the grid: Ilott, Norris, Ericsson, Dorovala, Habsburg, Makino, PK Hughes, Mazepin, Guan Yu Zhu rounding out the first 5 rows. Before we find Ralph Aron, Maximilian Gunter, Mick Schumacher, Felipe Drugovich for Van Amersfoort Racing, Joey Mawson for Van Amersfoort Racing, Harrison Newey for Van Amersfoort Racing. Before we see Beckman, Di Francesco, Kay Van Andros, Sato, and Juri Vips, as I mentioned, the Estonian that's come from the ADAC Formula 4, and is on track here at Hockenheim as the cars now make their way down from the hairpin. That hairpin always a pinch point. There you can see the track layout, 4.574 kilometers, 33 minutes plus 1 lap is the race duration for this FIA Formula 3 European Championship. That's a fantastic shot from the helicopter then in this so-called stadium section of the circuit, Alex.
Yeah, it's a really, really nice part. You have all these grandstands all around, that wherever you stand, you can see pretty much the whole section of the racetrack. Really lovely to drive with this, really, you cannot see in the image so much, but the Sachs curve, this bank corner to the left, really nice. You can carry the speed in the 2 last corners. So really challenging racetrack, Hockenheim. First part not so much, but this second part from the Mercedes Stadium and this Sachs Stadium, it's really, really challenging for a driver.
Well, the challenges for the drivers now, in particular Callum Ilott, going from P1, will be get the start absolutely right. He'll try and close the door on Lando Norris going into turn number 1. If you're on the front row of the grid, you have a long time to wait before the rest of the cars make their way into their grid boxes, and we get the green flag from the marshal at the rear. You can see only now is Maximilian Günther into his grid box. The Carlin Motorsport team down there on the pit wall then. Their man, Lando Norris, going from P2 on the grid. There is the Prema Power team then with Daniel Juncadella, I note, right at the back of that pack, watching on. Him, of course, a former Formula 3 star. There is the green flag from the marshal at the rear. We will get the start sequence underway then. The FIA Formula 3 European Championship as we look at Mick Schumacher. 2 lights, 3 lights, 4, 5, engine note rises. And the cars are away. It's a good start from Callum Ilott, less of a good start from Lando Norris, who loses out and doesn't get that P2. It's actually relegated to P3. It was a supreme start from Callum Ilott. He got it absolutely nailed as they head up now towards turn number 2. So some lockups going into turn number 2 then, but critically at the front, Lando Norris did everything that he needed to do. Joel Eriksson, it was a very good start from him. He finds himself in P2. Lando Norris relegated to P3, then it's Ferdinand Habsburg, Jihan Daravala, then it's PK, Makino and Mazepin. So side by side, this is Joel Eriksson squeezing Callum Ilott, and Joel Eriksson goes into the hairpin with his nose in front. Callum Ilott will try and come back now. Joel Eriksson really on a mission in the early stages of this race. Before 5 corners have been done, here comes Callum Ilott coming back at him now. And so too, fighting in there is Lando Norris, and Ferdinand Habsburg wants to buy into the battle as well. Callum Ilott got touched there, didn't he? Yes, some contact between Callum Ilott and Lando Norris. Hope it's nothing, looks like just slightly or really light contact. You see Ferdinand Habsburg coming really good from the 5th position on the grid now into 2nd. Really good start from the Austrian driver. And Callum Ilott finds himself now P4. He was leading the race in the early stages of this lap, but this is how quickly things can change in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. He's down to P4 now, as they put 1 lap in the book then. The first lap is about to be completed here at Hockenheim in the Formula 3 race. Eriksson leads from Habsburg, Norris, Ilott, Daruvala, PK, Mazepin. Makino is P8. P9 is Ralph Aron, then it's Jake Hughes, Guan Yu Zhu, Maximilian Günther is P12. So here in replay then. Replay. Oh, small tap between both drivers. Looks like nothing major for the car. But the big beneficiary in that was Ferdinand Habsburg, wasn't it? For sure, he saw that coming. He was just a spectator, and he took his chance. It was really good from him that he saw that opportunity, and he managed to get the position. So the race being led then through the hairpin by Joel Eriksson, then he is P1, Ferdinand Habsburg is P2, Lando Norris, the best of the rookies, is P3, then it's Callum Ilott and Jihan Daravala then, who is the next rookie, but he's running in P5 in the race thus far. So as Joel Eriksson turns in then, side by side there, and a place made up. This is Jake Hughes getting past Ralph Aron, if I'm right. I think Ralph Aron got past Jake Hughes on the hairpin before, but now it's the position got switched back again. So Jake Hughes then, who took his maiden win in the Formula 3 European Championship at the Nürburgring, the race. There is Callum Eilert, look, down there in P4 now. Not even a podium place for Callum Eilert, because the man that really took advantage of that skirmish in the opening lap was Ferdinand Habsburg. He was the one that was the real beneficiary as they put another lap into the book then and run into turn number 1. So Joel Eriksson with 6/10 over Ferdinand Habsburg, who in turn is 6/10 ahead of Lando Norris. Then it is Callum Eilert, who's some 7/10 down.
Yeah, we see, I think, Jake Hughes running wide into corner 1. This allows Maxi Günther to get past and get the position. Yes, he does.
So that means that Günther is into the points then in P10.
It's car number 34, exactly. It's Jake Hughes losing another position. So Maxi Günther now into the top 10.
Lando Norris now beginning to reel in Ferdinand Habsburg, isn't he? And it's going to harry him now. So Lando Norris, the Carlin driver, up against the number 62 car of Ferdinand Habsburg. As we can see, Maximilian Günther at the front of that little pack as they make their way through the hairpin. There's Callum Eilert going through in car number 53. And there, as I said, leading that pack now is Maximilian Günther. So Ferdinand Habsburg continuing to be hounded and pressed then by Lando Norris. Championship contender, of course, and if everything stays this way, it's really playing into the hands of Lando Norris, who banks big points for P3. Maximilian Günther, then his closest challenger in the points, but everything needs to go his way, and at the moment it is not shaping up that way. Mick Schumacher is currently running in P13. So around the final turn then, and race leader is Joel Eriksson, then Ferdinand Habsburg is P2. And Eriksson has just quietly increased his margin to a second now. He's taken another 4/10 over that last lap. So it's Eriksson, Habsburg, Norris, Eilert, Daravala, Piquet, Mazepin, Makino, then it's Aron and Maximilian Günther. So Maximilian Günther now beginning to close down that gap to Ralph Aron, who of course is running in P9.
Talking about Ralph Aron, he's under investigation due to the jump start.
Okay.
So race control is having a look on this, as they are also having a look on the incident between car 53 and 31. That's the incident between Lando Norris and Callum Eilert in the exit of the Mercedes arena. We see Joey Mawson, think it's defending or getting past Wan Yusu. Oh, the car motorpark was also really close on the hairpin.
Here's a replay of the start then as the lights went out. It was a supreme start from Callum Eilert.
Really good start from Callum Eilert.
And a bad start from Lando Norris.
Yeah, was really slow start. I think reaction to the lights from Lando was not so good. You see now this helicopter shot. Beautiful. Really clean start, have to say.
Yeah, to be fair,
really clean start.
We've seen some very different ones to that, haven't we? But yes, it was good. There was just a couple of lockups going into turn number 2, and this was
replay thing is Wan Yusu fighting with Mick Schumacher, can be? Yes, green helmet.
And this was
Joel Eriksson getting past Callum Eilert. So yeah, you see Ferdinand Habsburg is down before. He's braking on the right place. Of course, Callum and Lando got into contact. That allowed perfectly Ferdinand Habsburg to get past both of them.
But I just looked at that. Lando was sufficiently alongside, I think. But you know, that's conjecture on our part. We will see what happens. What we do know is leading by 1.1 seconds is Joel Eriksson, who's leading this race on the Parabolica now. Ferdinand Habsburg P2. Then it is Lando Norris, who's just slipped back a little bit from Ferdinand Habsburg now, but closes under braking going around the hairpin. And Callum Eilert running in P4. Of course, he started the race at P1, did all the hard work in qualifying, did a brilliant start as well, and then just that little touch between himself and Lando Norris meant that he lost out on a big bunch of positions. So Maximilian Günther continuing to try and close that gap down to Ralph Aron. And as Alex has mentioned, Ralph Aron himself under investigation for a potential jump start, possibly. So Maximilian Günther then in car number 3, pushing from that P10 position, and as I say, trying to close down that gap to Ralph Aron ahead of him running in P9. No further information with regards to the investigations going on as we speak. And we have 25 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining. That is the Lando Norris car then that we were following. It's 1.2 seconds now. Joel Eriksson to Ferdinand Habsburg. Then 7/10 back to from Habsburg to Lando Norris. There you can see Norris perhaps just turning up the wick a little bit now and going to have another go potentially to Ferdinand Habsburg. And then the Mick Schumacher car getting past Jake Hughes there. So Mick Schumacher moves himself up into P11 and relegates Jake Hughes to P12. Parabolica heading up towards the hairpin then, and this is where Lando Norris under braking gets very, very close to Ferdinand Habsburg. He's not as close on this occasion as he's been on some of the previous laps. In fact, they're the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really spreading out a little bit now, Alex. And of course, the man that's rubbing his hands is Joel Eriksson, metaphorically, because he's able just to get up the road as we look at the Carlin engineers who are looking on. And their driver, Lando Norris, then in P3. It would be enough. Joel Eriksson, P1. Ferdinand Habsburg is P2.
Yeah, we see the stewards are investigating now the incident between both drivers. So let's see if maybe in the next laps we have some resolution of this race accident.
To drive the drama, let's just suppose, you know, what penalty could be given for that?
Driving a drive-through causing a collision, nothing bigger than that.
You imagine a drive-through penalty at this stage of the race, wouldn't that sharpen up the drama for us?
Yeah, of course, but like I said, I think the only situation where Lando could lose, let's say, the championship, it's not win, it's also lose.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't win a championship, sometimes you lose it. Is if Maxi Günther wins the race, but it's the moment quite
P10.
stabilized in P10,
Yes.
not showing an amazing rhythm, an amazing pace to come forward up to the top. So I think it won't be a big drama if Lando get a drive.
Oh, up the inside of Ferdinand Habsburg now. King of the late breakers there, Lando Norris, but Habsburg will try and come back underneath the Lando Norris car now. Of course, Lando Norris needs to stay with it and stay absolutely committed here as those cars go side by side. But Ferdinand Habsburg got the inside at that turn, but now Lando Norris has got the inside. So Lando Norris then, he just kept assured there and knew that if he kept his line, that would give him the inside for that critical turn. And Ferdinand Habsburg loses out then and goes down to P3. Lando Norris now P2. Joel Eriksson, P1, of course, escaped up the road by some 1.2 seconds, and we can officially reveal from race control there will be no further action with regard to that incident between Callum Eilert and Lando Norris. So he's free to race on, but as you say, actually, it's almost academic, isn't it? Because, of course, the car of, as we see in replay, the car of Lando Norris, you know, Maximilian Günther would have to be winning the race, wouldn't he?
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. So the situation is now playing more on the hands of Lando Norris. He has a really comfortable, he's showing the pace, so we'll see if he's also chasing now Joel Eriksson. The thing is, we are all racing drivers. Racing drivers, we are always hungry. So that's why definitely he might even wants to go for that win. And also he knows that winning his race, he will win the championship, so maybe he wants to finish on a high.
Yeah.
When we see we have under investigation, overtaking off the track in lap 1 in turn 1 between car 96 and 25. That's Joey Mawson and Mick Schumacher.
Of course, great buddies off the track, but no friends on the track. So that under investigation, overtaking off the track. So that's you know, really exceeding the track limits, and that's something that's looked at all the time and is monitored constantly. Now Lando Norris has got past Ferdinand Habsburg. He is on a mission. There we can see the PK car is going to try and chase down that Gian Daravala, but at the moment he's having to defend from Nikita Mazepin in the number 99 machine that we can see in picture there. That's the battle going on for P6 between PK and Mazepin. As you can see, the margin between the two of those cars. So Pedro Piquet then and Nikita Mazepin, and it's Tadakazu Makino behind in P8. There's the order on the screen for you. Eriksson with a 1.8 second margin now over Lando Norris. So Lando Norris now is going to have to, it's what when an engineer or anybody else in motor racing says, you know, now you need to bang in quali laps. By quali laps, that's the fastest you can possibly drive, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But it's always, you can do quali laps on a race. We see now Lando Norris making purple sector 1, 2/10 faster than anyone. The thing is, you can do quali laps, but it's a race. It gets on a distance. So you need to also take care too of your tires. If you do a lot of quali laps at the beginning of the race, you might end up at the end of the race. You might be without tires, and then your pace is worse than if you would have an average pace during the whole race.
So it's a real compromise, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Between that tyre degradation by pushing so very hard and making sure that you've got longevity in the tyres come the end of the race.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot push too much at the beginning, because then if not, you will struggle to have those tires ready for the end. Especially these Hankook tires. It's a tire which was quite a lot of peak, so there is a little bit of a drop when the tire you overdrive it a little bit. So that's why you need to take a little bit of the compoundment. We see now one of the Bananas Ford car getting past High Tech. See the number. I think it's.
Well, there is Maximilian Günther. Well, you're prevaricating over that. Incidentally, I can tell you that a 5-second time penalty is going to be awarded to the car of Joey Mawson for gaining an advantage, and that's at turn 1 during lap 1. So that's running wide, isn't it? Getting that slingshot, and that's been recognised, and he's being penalised for that by some 5 seconds. So the order then is Ericsson, and then it's this man, Lando Norris, who is running in P2. He's 1.6 seconds down on Joel Ericsson. Ferdinand Habsburg is P3, ahead of Callum Eilert, who's some distance behind now, some 2.2 seconds down on the car of Ferdinand Habsburg. Then it's Gian Duravala, Nikita Mazepin, and PK. So Nikita Mazepin with that overtake on the PK car then. And then it's Makino, Ralph Aron, and Maximilian Günther remain stoic in P10 at the moment. So into the points, but it's certainly not going to be enough. Joel Ericsson with amazing pace. And to be honest, he's come into this again after a very successful Red Bull Ring racing weekend. And that's really given Joel Ericsson the, dare I say, a metaphorical kick up the bottom. And he's really got it all together now, hasn't he? And the pace that he's showing is consistently banking 1:32.8. Now, Lando Norris at the moment is a bit quicker by about 2/10, isn't he? So the chase is on, but what have we got? 17.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. And you can see it's visible now, isn't it, that the gap between P1 and P2 is reducing.
Yeah, in the last 3 laps, it was 1.8, 1.6 lap before, now it's 1.4. So as you're exactly saying, it's around 2/10 per lap. The pace is coming down. So yeah, I mean, it will be an interesting fight. If it keeps like this, around 2/10 per lap, that means in 3-4 laps will be within a second. So it will be really interesting to see this fight. We see Ralph Aron attacking, I think it's Tadasuke Makino.
Yes, you're right. So Makino ahead of Ralph Aron, but for how long? And just lurking behind, of course, is Maximilian Günther. The more these two can fight, the better it is for Maximilian Günther, because it slows them, doesn't it? When you're in a fight, you know, your pace relative lap time is reduced, isn't it?
And we see now Ralph Aron getting the move, really good on the inside of this long parabolic corner into the, which is totally flat out, into the so-called back straight, and brilliantly move from Ralph Aron. So now it's
now here's what I was saying.
Oh, some lockout from Tadasuke Makino, almost running in the back of his teammate. So as you were saying, this is playing in the hands of Maxi Günther, who can now rejoin this group.
Runs a bit wide, doesn't he?
And also maybe Mick Schumacher, if it keeps like this, Mick Schumacher will rejoin as well the party.
So this is the fight that at the moment is going on between Nikita Mazepin and Petro PK. And there we can see Tadakazu Makino then really getting rumbled. That's shaking the fillings in his teeth, isn't it? Across those rumble strips. And there is the Ralph Aron car number 7, with lumps of rubber being thrust up there. There is Maximilian Günther then, still there in P10. The gap between P1 and P2, incidentally, has come down by another couple of tenths as, again, Lando Norris is just banking quicker time. So under pressure now from Maximilian Günther is Tadakazu Makino. So there is Maximilian Günther. Tadazuke Makino then is ahead in that P9 position. Ahead of them, Ralph Aron, then it's Pedro Piquet, Nikita Mazepin, Gian Duravallo, who's kind of out on his own, really, isn't he? He's a full second behind Callum Ilott, and then some 3 seconds ahead of Nikita Mazepin. So move at the hairpin there, but we cross back to the P1 and P2 drivers, Joel Eriksson and Lando Norris then, and Joel Eriksson just beginning to respond a little bit now by perhaps up in the ante. The margin between the two of them in terms of lap time is reduced a little bit. Just wonder whether Joel Eriksson is just managing the margin he's got back to Lando Norris and getting the best out of the car that he possibly can. So there is Maximilian Günther then continuing to chase down that Tadazuke Makino car, which is running in P9, but Maximilian Günther really not on the gearbox of the number 11 car at the moment.
The personal best from Joel Eriksson, and distance between Eriksson and Norris is still the same, 1.3 seconds.
Which makes me think that maybe Joel...
just purple sector 1 for Lando Norris now, so again 2/10 faster in the first sector. For British driver Maxi Günther drifting all the way around the curb.
Mick Schumacher doing the same right behind. So there is the car of Maximilian Günther then. Tadazuke Makino ahead in P9. Maximilian Günther still in P10. So there you can see the number 11 car. Mick Schumacher is trying, as Alex said just a couple of moments ago, to buy into this battle. And of course, Jake Hughes in there as well with Joey Mawson, Guan Yu Su. Harrison Newey is running in P15.
Oh, again, purple sector 2 for Lando Norris, another 2/10 faster than Eriksson. That will
it's coming down now,
approach
isn't
him,
it?
really let him really close to the motor park driver. So let's see now, the lap time will be fastest lap of the race, most probably. All the way through the curb, look at this.
Just looking at the pictures here and just picking up on our friends all the way around the track and watching every single moment of this FIA Formula 3 European Championship race. Just wonder whether Joel's front right seems a little bit blistered from trackside. That's what is being reported to me, whereas Lando, who's perhaps taken a little bit more care of his tyres, and would that make sufficient difference? Of course, it's inevitably going to make Lando just a little bit quicker, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure, this is what I'm saying. If you push too much at the beginning of the race, you might struggle at the end. And we see Lando Norris, who lost everything he gained in the first 2 sectors, being even 10 slower than Joel Eriksson at the end of the race. So he's really pushing. Oh, Maxi Günther as well, pushing hard, taking
gravel, grass, bits of Astro, curb.
A little bit of everything.
And that will have slowed him, won't it?
Yeah, that's for sure, it slowed him. We see also Lando Norris lost another 10 in the first sector. So, shame, because he was looking really good.
Incidentally, the threat of the action to Ralph Aron with regards to that potential jump start has gone away, because it's been investigated and it was deemed that Ralph Aron did not jump the start. Right, now, following that excursion into the gravel, dust and goodness knows what else, that's allowed Mick Schumacher, of course, to get ever closer to Maximilian Günther, hasn't it? So there is Maximilian Günther, there is Mick Schumacher, and of course this may play into the hands of Jake Hughes, who will buy into this party as well. It's the argument and fight that's going on for the final points paying position for P10 at the moment, as once again Maximilian Günther just seems a little bit just controlling that car and finding the grip. Seems to be I mean, we're reaching the final third of this race, aren't we? So there is Maxi Günther. He just looks a little bit wayward.
Yeah, struggling to keep the pace as well. So as you were saying, tires is important. Tire care, it's all running wide again, really wide again in corner number 1. Tire care is really important here in F3. It's also one of the places where you can gain or lose the most. And we see Maxi struggling with the grip, as well as Lando. Lando lost a little bit of pace. He's matching the lap time of Joel Eriksson, but he was looking so sharp a lap ago, 2 laps ago, when he was doing purple sector 1, purple sector 2, lost a lot in sector 3, and that chipped a little bit of his rhythm.
Of credit to Joel Eriksson, though. Blister tyre or not blister tyre, Joel Eriksson is just, you know, is consistently lapping very well in those late 132s, isn't he? And so therefore the margin between the two of them is well, it's as the clock ticks down, the opportunity for Lando to do this with a flourish is running out, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. No, you have 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, it must be 2-3 tenths fastest per lap. Because always it's the same discussion. We always have one thing is to get close next to someone. The next point is to pass him. You always need at least 1-2 laps in such a, I mean, in such a level of racing. 1 or 2 laps to study the driving in front, to get the line, to know where to go, to know where to pass him, where he might be making a mistake, whether or not. We see again Maxi Günther really on the edge of that curb.
So Maxi Günther then, for the moment, remains P10. Mick Schumacher's charge and challenge has gone away just a little bit. The margin between race leader Joel Eriksson and Lando Norris remains at 1.5. There is Maxi Günther then running in P10, being chased down by Mick Schumacher and Jake Hughes right behind him. And Callum Ilott now is coming under threat from Gian Daravala. So Daravala then to the outside will try and get underneath the Callum Ilott Prema car now. He wasn't quite close enough to be able to do so, but he's going to chase him all the way down now into the stadium section of the track. So Callum Ilott and Gian Daravala. Callum Ilott with the inside line for this turn. Daravala to the outside. Slight lock up there from Gian Daravala, but Callum Ilott at the moment has got it all under control, but he is under pressure, isn't he? And there's no doubt about it that Daravala looks the quicker of the two cars here. Yeah,
it's looking really good. Callum Ilott is losing some rhythm in the last laps. He was lapping 134, so it was 7 tenths lower than Gian Daravala, so that allows the Indian driver to get into the back of that Prema car.
Oh, and that's why, isn't it? Callum Ilott then with a mistake that we can see in replay. We didn't see that live, out through the gravel and through the grass, and that, of course, has allowed Gian Daravala for a moment to get much closer. Again, Callum Ilott running wide there, but the pace advantage now that Callum Ilott has is true because it was the mistake that allowed Gian Daravala to get so close. And Lando Norris has just banked in a lap time which is 3 tenths quicker than Joel Eriksson that's leading. So the margin between P1 and P2 has been reduced to 1.2 seconds, where we've only got 7.5 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining. So following that error from Callum Ilott, then he's seen off the challenge for the moment from Gian Daravala, who, under braking now, though, once again tries to get onto the gearbox of Callum Ilott, but he's not close enough to be able to do it this time. Now, cars are being warned with regards to track limits, and among those being warned, Kay Van Andres in car number 47, and also car number 21 also being warned with regards to track limits as we continue to watch Callum Ilott, but switch back to Lando Norris some distance ahead of Ferdinand Habsburg in P3. But here is this battle that's going on for P4 at the moment between Callum Ilott and Gian Daravala then. Callum Ilott, of course, driving for the Prema Power team, and Gian Daravala then, as we can see, chasing him down and doing everything he can. In car number 27, Nikita Mazepin is behind them. The order, as you can see on screen. Joel Eriksson seems to be managing this, doesn't he? Because last time around, he was 1.5 tenths quicker than Lando Norris. So the lap times between the two of them really seesawing, which is meaning that the gap is remaining almost constant at 1.5 seconds. I mean, there's no such thing, Alex Torrell, as a comfortable gap. The more you can have, the better. But clearly, 1.5 seconds is a real bonus with only 6 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining.
Yeah, for sure. It must be that you do a mistake or you do something wrong or overshoot a corner that allows really Lando Norris to get closer. We see still the pace of Lando a little bit faster than Joel Eriksson, but as you were saying, it's not enough. And with so less time remaining, or 6 minutes remaining, it's around 4.5, 5 laps. That will not allow you to get close enough to pass the driver in front. Just might be only one mistake from Joel Eriksson that might allow Lando Norris to get an opportunity to fight for that first position.
So Gian Daravala then that we were looking at then, but now we're looking at Lando Norris then, who is continuing to try and chase down Joel Eriksson, but into the final 5 minutes plus 1 lap of this race almost, as another lap is going to be completed and put in the book now. The order then, the top 10, it's Eriksson, Norris, Habsburg. Then it's Eilert, Daravala, Mazepin, Piquet, Ralph Aron, Tadazuke, Makino. Then it is Maximilian Günther, P10. Just outside the points at the moment is the number 25 car driven by Mick Schumacher.
So gap between Joel Eriksson and Lando Norris still 1.4 seconds. Really stabilized, between 1.2. It's been, I think, the closest, and 1.6.
Super slow-mo here of Lando Norris then. Bouncing the car around the curb. Really good to see these super slow-mo shots. So Lando Norris then in the number 31 car. Engineered, of course, by the Carlin Motorsport team based in Aldershot in the UK. And their rearward shot then as he takes the curbs, the runoff area and the rumble strips. But that margin has stayed sort of 1.4, 1.5, hasn't it, for lap after lap after lap recently. And Joel Eriksson then both lapping in the 133s, and Lando Norris quicker through sector 1, I think, last time around.
Yeah, 1.5 tenths quicker through sector 1. A tenth and a little bit more faster in sector 2, so that might bring the gap down up to 1.1, 1.2 seconds. Let's see now sector 3. Definitely Joel has been really strong in sector 3.
That's where he's pulling that time back, isn't it?
So he's getting some time back in sector 3. We'll see now.
So they cross the timing
exactly.
line.
Another 2 tenths, you see 1.3. So that was Joel Eriksson is really strong in sector 3.
So the advantage, or rather the benefits that Lando is making through the middle sector as he locks up there, they're being mitigated, aren't they, by Joel Eriksson being quicker through the final sector. And it's really odd, isn't it, how certain sectors work for certain drivers. Of course, you were saying right at the beginning of the program that it's not until you get into the second and third sectors of this racing circuit where it becomes a bit more technical.
Yeah, exactly. And also this car, it can be that, for example, Lando is running a less aerodynamic car, so a car with a little bit less downforce, so it's a little bit faster on sector 2 and sector 1. You have the both straights of this racetrack, and then he's maybe struggling a little bit with aerodynamic in the sector end of sector 2 and sector 3, which is only corners. So that's why it's a lot of things which are playing into this. So it's only the driver for sure with feelings. Sometimes you're feeling more comfortable with the section of the racetrack, fast corners.
Yes.
More uncomfortable, or you have more troubles with slow corners. Your car is probably not only you, or it's not the driver, it's the car which is reacting or working better in fast corners than in slow corners. So it's a combination of things that makes the time. But as you were saying, we see this difference between the drivers and between the cars.
And presumably it's always a compromise, isn't it? You're not going to have a car that's perfect through every sector.
Yeah,
therefore,
exactly.
It has to suit your driving style, where you think you can get the most out of it. And when it comes to those engineers setting the car up for this race, you know, you as a driver have an awful lot of input into that, because of course, you know, you may prefer a certain setup to perhaps another driver who would prefer a completely different setup. So there is Joel Eriksson, our race leader then, 1.4 seconds to the good over Lando Norris in P2. It's Ferdinand Habsburg P3, Callum Eilert is P4, Gian Daravala, Nikita Mazepin. Then it's Pedro Piquet, Ralph Aron, Tadazuke Makino, and Maximilian Günther then rounding out the top 10. So Joel Eriksson then to the hairpin. Turns in. Lando Norris nothing like close enough to be able to close the gap, and as I say, it's been seesawing between 1.4 and 1.5 the margin, as Maximilian Günther then in P2 really out on his own, because Makino is away up the road and Mick Schumacher away behind him as well. So Maximilian Günther then kind of out on his own there in P10. Mick Schumacher, Jake Hughes, Joey Mawson, the cars that are immediately following that you can see into the picture. Joey Mawson just coming into the picture, and then Guan Yu Zhu. Then it's Harrison Newey and Sato Drugovic. He's running in P17 ahead of Beckman, Kevin Andres. So there, the Maximilian Günther car. And I have to be honest, this is kind of a measure of really Maximilian Günther's final half of the season. It's been very, very up and down, hasn't it? And, you know, there he is running in P10, where we would expect to see him at the sharp end of the order. But this is where qualifying is oh so crucial, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's really important to have a good qualifying in Formula 3, especially many of the race drivers. We have Nürburgring, the short version, or here. It's not so easy, most of them, to overtake, or for example, Paul, which is almost impossible to get past. So qualifying plays a big role into the qualifying when you prepared your race. So that's why a good qualifying is key. And also, when the farther you start in the front, the less chances you have to get involved in an accident or some small crash, and of course also less traffic. So your rhythm is higher at the beginning of the race.
Yes.
So of course it plays a big role into the race.
So the car's heading up then to the hairpin now as Maximilian Günther turns in, being followed, of course, by Mick Schumacher. There is Lando Norris, P2. The gap is down to 1.2 seconds now between P1 and P2. But as you can see, merely 2 laps left to run in this FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Race 1 of 3 across this weekend, bringing the championship to a conclusion here at Hockenheim. So Lando Norris then, and our computations and our calculations mean that on this, the final lap, truthfully, Lando's just got to bring it home, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He just need to bring it to the checker flag. Gap is now down up to 1 second, but I think nothing will really happen, and it's a big mistake from Joel Eriksson. Just need to bring it home and enjoy his championship. Fortunately, Maxi Günther is down to P10, so no real possibility of further fight for the next 2 races this weekend. So it should be...
I'll tell you what,
it's really close.
He is getting much closer to Joel Eriksson now. He wants to go out with a flourish. He wants to take it with the checkered flag and be in the first car. But I think time is going to run out for Lando Norris to achieve P1 in this race. The margin between the two of them is down to a second. But Joel Eriksson, he's not making the mistake, really, that Lando Norris needs. He would need a mistake from Joel Eriksson to come to allow him to get past. And truthfully, I don't think that is going to happen. So he's going to have to settle for P2 in the race. But that will be plenty enough for him in terms of the Drivers' Championship. But Joel Eriksson has been faultless, really, right from the very start of the race. Did a very good start to Joel Eriksson, and once he got his nose in front, truthfully, has not looked threatened at all. So just a couple of turns to do for Joel Eriksson to win the race and for Lando Norris to take P2, and with it the championship as well as they head towards the checkered flag. Joel Eriksson takes the win, but Lando Norris becomes the FIA Formula 3 European champion for this season. Ferdinand Habsburg takes P3. Callum Eilert will be P4. Then it will be Gian Duravala. Good drive from him to take P5. And down there on the Carlin pit wall, they all celebrate. Of course, they thought it was going to happen at the Red Bull Ring. One round, the last round, that's when they thought they would do it. But no, the drama unfolded and continued all the way here to Hockenheim. So the celebrations and... the delight down there. There is Lando Norris then. He is the champion. He has done it for Carlin Motorsport, taken that Drivers' Championship. Let's not lose sight of the fact that Joel Eriksson, though, has won the race, and he won it in commanding style. It was a very good drive from Joel Eriksson, who, after a successful Red Bull Ring, and having taken 2 wins there in races 2 and 3. This now means it's 3 wins in a row for Joel Eriksson, of course. So, good drive from Joel Eriksson. But this man, Lando Norris, did everything that he needed to do to put himself in the position of taking the FIA Formula 3 European Drivers' Championship, which must mean for Lando Norris, the next 2 races are going to be great fun. Cue Alex. Because once you've done it, you know, all the pressure is off, isn't it?
Yes, this is completely true. I know this from experience, but it's the best thing. It's an amazing feeling, you know, to win even before the championship is finished or before the last race. Now you have 2 more races to enjoy, where you just will go, just have fun, and it goes also improves your driving, because you're driving now much more relaxed. Pressure is out, so. I mean, I was checking just the starting or the qualifying for race 2 and 3. I think it's starting both times from P6. But I'm really sure we will see some recovery from Lando Norris. Like I said, driving without the pressure, really well done. Good job from the British driver.
But in fairness to him, what we have seen is perhaps a wise head on very young shoulders there. Because he could have pushed probably even harder, couldn't he? In terms of trying to wrestle away that P1 from Joel Eriksson. But he didn't do that. It wasn't going to... You know, and that's critical, isn't it? You know, you've got to bring the car home, and actually by banking that P2, that was always going to be enough, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. This is, at the end of the day, no one will remember you for winning race 1 at Hockenheim in DTM Finale 2017. They will remember you for winning FIA Formula 3 2017 championship. So that's why it's much more important to come home, to bring the car home in a podium result, which is still a great performance.
Of course.
And get that championship and secure that championship.
Well, he has done it. He has done enough. As I said just a few moments ago, we were all expecting it to have been sealed at the Red Bull Ring, but it wasn't to be. It's been brought here to race 1 at Hockenheim in the final round. Joel Eriksson takes the win. Lando Norris taking P2, takes the Drivers' Championship. Then it's Ferdinand Habsburg, Callum Eilert, Gian Daravala, Nikita Mazepin, Pedro Piquet, Ralph Lauren, Tadazuke Makino, ahead of Maximilian Günther. Then it was Schumacher, Hughes, Mawson, Zhu, Newey, Drugovic, Beckman, Sato, Di Francesco, and Kevin Andres and Juri Vips. So there is Lando Norris, who will be elated. So elated that he gives us some donuts. And very good ones at that as well. Good control there from Lando Norris. We've seen it time and time again in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Alex, stars, absolute stars in the making. Let's be honest, a year ago, Lance Stroll, where is he today?
Yeah, he's in Formula 1, so we all know, we all heard Lando will, I think we head towards McLaren racing program. I think most probably this is as far as I know. So yeah, I mean, FIA Formula 3, it's a perfect school for single-seaters, and how many driver has been really successful here, and they finally get into Formula 1.
Yes. So
big list of names.
What we must do, of course, is credit the fact that Joel Eriksson won the race, but inevitably it is Lando Norris that has done enough to seal the championship here. And Ferdinand Habsburg, we can see there, having taken P3. It's Ferdinand Habsburg over the course of the season has been another one of those turbulent drivers that has been up and down, but up and higher than up is this man. For Carlin, Joel Eriksson, for Lando Norris taking the Drivers' Championship, though. Joel Eriksson, of course, wins the race, but it is the new champion that we are seeing there, Lando Norris, who has done enough to seal it in this race. So in the Drivers' Championship, confirmation then, 429 points. Joel Eriksson, 358, and that means that Maximilian Günther now is P3.
Yeah, Maxi Günther is down to P3, so we'll have a fight in the next 2 races because Maxi Günther is starting quite ahead, quite in the front, so I think he even has a pole for race 2, race 3, if I'm right now. So this will mean we have a fight for P2 and P3 of the championship later on. For race number 2 this afternoon, race number 3 tomorrow morning.
As we see Lando Norris then being congratulated down there in Parc Fermé.
Yeah, it's Maximilian Günther starting for P2 in race 2 and pole position on race 3 tomorrow morning. When we have Joel Eriksson is starting race 2 in P6, 6th position, and race 3 he will be starting P5. So yeah, 18 points different. Fight for second position on the championship. First, it's already consolidated. nevertheless, a good year of racing.
Always. Absolutely always. Do you know what? We see Joel Eriksson celebrating the race win then. Lando Norris, of course, celebrating the Drivers' Championship win. But Joel Eriksson, of course, taken the race win. And there he is, standing atop his car. Drivers are being hustled up to the podium as we speak. It's a tight schedule here at Hockenheim this weekend, always is. And you can see the drivers there behind the podium as Ferdinand Habsburg and Mick Schumacher in conversation there. Ferdinand Habsburg is a tall driver, isn't he?
Yeah.
There's Joel Eriksson.
The drivers nowadays, I can't speak too loud.
No, you're 7'4", you are.
But definitely, the drivers today, we are taller and taller than in the previous time. That's why these manufacturers are struggling, because they have to make the car bigger and bigger than what they were in the past.
Here comes the podium then. Joel Eriksson then up there on the top step of the podium, and he ensures that the Henkel is ready to be sprayed. Well done, Joel Eriksson. Lando Norris then. P2 is enough. Well done, Lando. Of course, we've said it before. We've said it before that you win and lose as a team together, don't you? So the anthem plays out then for Joel Eriksson on the top step of the podium. The noisy Carlin crew then. As I said, you win and lose together. The significance, please, Alex Torrell, in your estimation of the pit board that accompanies Ferdinand Habsburg, as Stefan Ortelli then makes the trophy presentations, because Ferdinand Habsburg came up there with that pit board.
Yeah, exactly. It's a thing, I don't know, I need to check the rookie championship.
No.
It's maybe... Anyway, so trophy presentation for the team.
So Stefan Ortelli once again making the trophy presentation, this time to Lando Norris then, who's all smiles, of course.